Today we're going to solve quadratics by using square roots. So first we're going to look at our steps. We're going to get the x squared term by itself by adding or subtracting the constant. Second step, we're going to divide the coefficient of the x squared term to get the x squared by itself. So once again, we're trying to get the x squared by itself. Then we're going to take the square root of both sides and then simplify if we need to. And then when you take square roots, you want two answers, so you have to put this plus or minus sign in front of your answer. All right, so example 1, we have x squared minus 9 equals 0. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to get this x squared by itself. So just like if we were solving a normal equation, we're going to add 9 to both sides to get rid of that. That way you'll have the x squared left. 0 plus 9 is 9. Then, once the squared part is by itself, you're going to take the square root. When you take the square root, you're going to take the square root of each side. So the square root of x squared becomes x. The square root of 9, that's a perfect square, so that's 3. But remember, we should have two answers because we had this exponent of the 2. So that's why you're going to put your plus or minus in the front. So that means one answer is a positive 3 and one answer is a negative 3. Example 2, we have 5x squared plus 1 equals 126. So once again, we're trying to get the x squared by itself. We're going to solve just like we would a linear equation. So we're going to subtract this 1 from each side first. We're going to bring down that 5x squared. 126 minus 1 will give us 125. Trying to get the x squared by itself. So we're going to divide by 5. 5's canceled. So x squared. So 125 divided by 5 is 25. Then we're going to take the square root of each side because now the x squared is by itself. So the square root of x squared and the square root of 25. So the square root of x squared is x. Square root of 25, that's a perfect square, which is 5. And we have to put this plus or minus because that shows that you have two answers. One answer is a positive 5, one answer is a negative 5. So example 3 says 2n squared minus 8 equals 80. So once again, we're going to try to solve for the n squared, get it by itself. So we're going to add 8 to each side first. That way that cancels. We have 2n squared. 80 plus 8 is 88. Okay, now we're going to get rid of this 2 in front, so we'll divide both sides by 2. So we'll have n squared. 88 divided by 2 is 44. Now the n squared's by itself, so we're going to take the square root of each side. Square root of n squared is n. But now, square root of 44, that's not a perfect square, so we're going to have to do a factor tree here. So we're going to come over the side. 44, so let's say 4 times 11. Then we can write down 4. 2 times 2. Can't break down 11 there. So a pair of 2's with an 11 left over. So 2 square root 11. Remember, you have to put that plus or minus out in front to show that you have two different answers. Okay, so last example, we have negative 14 minus 3n squared equals negative 32. So we're going to get the m squared by itself again. So we're going to add 14 to each side. That way we get rid of that negative 14. So notice this is minus, so this becomes negative 3n squared. And then negative 32 plus 14 will give us a negative 18. You're trying to get n squared by itself, so divide by negative 3. So n squared. Negative 18 divided by negative 3 is 6. Okay, the n squared's by itself, so take the square root. Square root of n squared's n. Square root of 6. That's not a perfect square, but if you try to break that down, the only thing you could do is say 2 times 3. We don't have any pairs there either, so that's just going to stay square root 6, but you need your plus or minus to show that you have two different answers. One's a positive square root 6, the other's a negative square root 6.